Hello, I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. Our special guest and honored guest this evening is Joann Richards. Our show is about the wealth of being open-minded about other intelligent life forces on this planet and beyond. Joann Richards is an executive director of the educational nonprofit Earth Defense Headquarters, and that's www.edhca.org. Her husband, Mark Richard, and his father, Ellis Lloyd Richards, were involved with a top-secret military intelligence operation since World War II, many including on-world and off-world contact and battles with various alien species. Joann speaks about her knowledge of military operations and secret meetings that both these men were involved with. She shares information about numerous alien species. Joann herself got started in this field after she's been with Mark for several years. He gave her some reports to read related to his involvement with top secret space and alien-related missions. Then, in 2004, he suggested she go to a UFO conference. The next year, she had a booth there. Mark's family history includes some very interesting bloodlines and personal connections. Both of his grandfathers worked with Nikola Tesla. Grandfather Richards worked on the Manhattan Project. Mark's father spent summers with Tesla, Goddard, and Hubble. Both he and Mark were involved with top secret things, such as they were with I'm going to do that one over. Both he and Mark were involved with top secret things since they were teens. It runs in the family. In 1984, Mark was falsely convicted of a murder and has been incarcerated ever since. The family now believes it was to keep him quiet about what he knows and to keep him from fighting the New World Order.
Yay.
Welcome, Joann.
Thank you so much.
I've pretty much done a little synopsis of not too much of you, though.
Oh.
Just kind of, more about Mark and his father and
right.
grandfather, and, which is quite interesting.
It
but
is.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you came from.
Okay. I grew up in Southern California. I am one of 4 children. I'm number 3, so I'm the middle child. I'm a Leo. I'm a bookkeeper by trade. I have a grown daughter and 3 wonderful grandchildren, and this wonderful husband we're going to talk about.
Yes.
So let's see. I have a film production degree and an accounting degree.
Okay.
So I have a thriving bookkeeping business, and by night and by day, I talk about UFOs and aliens and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
That certainly balances it out, doesn't it?
It does. It gets me out of my head a little bit.
Yeah.
The bookkeeping head. So.
Well, I think we had a brief conversation because
Yes.
my PhD's in financial management and business administration.
Yes.
And I had accounting practice for like 17 years.
So you get it.
So I got it.
I've been doing it for 35 years since before my daughter was born. So.
Well, I got burnt out.
Yeah, I have an assistant now that's helping a lot
Yeah.
because, it's like I'm in my 60s and I'd like to see retirement before I'm 90.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay. So when did you meet your Mark?
I met Mark in 1996. My roommate has a husband that is in prison. I'm assuming he still is. And she came home one day and said, "There's this really smart guy. I met him today. His mom was visiting." And I'd already been to visit her husband at prison and a couple other people, so the prison part didn't scare me. And so she said, "Do you want to meet him?" And I said, "Sure," because he's close to my age. The smart part truly intrigued me because my past history they've not all been very bright. But anyway, we won't go there. So we started writing, and a couple of months later, I was approved to visit. And, was visiting every week if possible, unless he was down in Southern California.
How long had he been in prison?
But when I met him, maybe 10 or, well, probably about 15 years, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was arrested in 1982.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty well-known case here in Marin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed with the fact that, he hasn't gotten out,
Yeah.
but, you have
There's always hope.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
always
you never
hope.
give up hope.
No,
So
never.
how long before you got married?
We courted for 5 years, and then we got married at the prison. And my daughter and her.
You courted in the prison.
Yeah, because that's the only. I've only known him in prison. So.
Yeah.
My daughter came, and she was pregnant with her first child, and it was July, and it was hot. But we had a nice little ceremony, as nice as it can be.
Has he been in Folsom the whole time?
No. When I met him, he was in Mule Creek in Ione, which is near Jackson.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He's been in Old Folsom, New Folsom twice, Mule Creek, Salinas Valley, Lancaster, and right now he's in Solano, which is in Vacaville.
Oh,
and I think
okay.
he was in Corcoran for a few months, but I didn't know him then.
Well, I guess
he's been moved around a lot.
He's not in San Quentin.
No.
Because that's for death row.
Well, no, that has death row, but it also has lower, it's a reception
okay.
place, and it has lower level custodies. And his custody level is about to be dropped again, so he could go there if he had an electric fence, but they don't.
Oh.
So.
Yeah,
with a life without sentence, you have to have an electric fence where you're at.
Yeah.
So we courted for 5 years. We got married. We've been married for almost 15 years. Because my grandson's almost 15, so I can keep track of how long I've been married.
Yeah.
And,
So, let's
see a picture.
There's a picture of.
Can we see that?
Just hold it up and
okay.
they'll.
Yeah,
they'll
this was
do
taken several years ago. I don't remember when, but I know it's not the place we're at now because I can tell by the mural. But we haven't changed much. Yeah.
Well, you look like a good couple. Amazing. So let's see, where do we start? Alien contact.
Sure.
Go ahead and take the reins here because.
Okay, and you already talked about his background, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Yes, and I'm fascinated by Tesla and Hubble, and I'm fascinated by those connections.
Yeah.
So, but you just go, and I'll listen.
Very good, and then you chime in.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I'll start by saying, I used to have a publishing company, and Mark would say, well, I would go. Part of it was like talking about the environment, and part of it was going cool places to visit, and then writing sweet little reports about this is a really nice place to go visit, touristy type thingies. And so I got into the paranormal world that way, and so that was really cool. And I love talking about ghosts and stuff, but that's another show. I have lots of ghost experiences. But then he said, well, why don't you go to this UFO conference down in Santa Clara, happening blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. And I'd only known a little bit about his UFO connection by then, because that's not the first thing that we talked about when we first met. And he said, and listen for anybody talking about reptilians. It's like, okay, because I knew he knew about reptilians. It's like, okay. So I go, this was 2004, and I, just listened and was like, oh my gosh, it's like, where have I been all these years? And it was just fascinating and interesting, and it started making sense. And yes, there was one guy there talking about reptilians, not the kind that I talk about a lot. By the next year, I had more information of Mark's because he keeps writing stuff.
So what kind of reptilians?
I'm not sure.
Because I noticed that raptors in Scotland.
Yes.
What,
yes. Well, I talk a lot about reptilian species that started here on Earth. They evolved from dinosaurs, or they descended from dinosaurs. They still look like dinosaurs. They look like velociraptors. And they still have, they just look they are dinosaurs, except the more elite of them have operations so they can speak human languages. They're very smart.
Where are they?
Well, they have a huge empire in space because they left the planet millions of years ago. but there are several bases here. We'll just say Northern California and the Southern Hemisphere,
So
in a couple of places.
Do you communicate with them?
No, but Mark has known them since he was young. They're a baby. They've known of him since he was a baby, and he's been around him his whole life.
So did they choose him?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he had, you know, the scene in Lion King where they hold up the baby? Well, he had that ceremony when he was a baby. They all flew in their flying saucers, and in our Marin Water District, they did one of those hold up the baby, honor him as a blood brother. He's got a little scar here for the blood brother thing. So, yeah.
Any witnesses?
His dad was there and a bunch of raptors. So if there were human witnesses, I don't know who they are. He's not going to tell me.
Oh.
Yeah. There's only so much he can tell me.
Yeah.
But I know the
because
scar.
People would freak.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
you'd be amazed what's gone in and out of the water district in the headlands. Yeah. I started filming a documentary about that. And I still need to finish it. It's all filmed. I just need to edit it. So,
oh, wow.
yeah.
Well, this area is a special area. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
No, and when you had Hamilton Air Force Base, aliens were coming and going there. And, you know, our Air Force had their own flying saucers. And yeah, there's so much, and we'll probably just jump around from topic to topic.
Yeah,
but because,
yeah,
you know,
right.
I
It's
talk,
hard.
it is hard. But
I mean, I was overwhelmed by the length of the titles, and it's like, well, let's just start.
Yeah.
You know, so that's alien contact.
it is. The military knows of hundreds of species, for example, and they're all kinds. There's different types of reptilians. There's insect-looking ones. You've got the Bigfoot Yeti. You've got human-looking ones. You've got some that look like squids, some that look like whales, some that look like jellyfish, some that are very gaseous. Some that
Why
just
do you
look beyond
think-
description.
Why? I mean, in the last probably maybe 7 years, I have seen photos of huge, like not snakes and different things that have been found in Florida and around on the beach. You know, giant squids and stuff, and it's like,
Exactly.
why won't they talk about it? Why do they have to keep it a secret?
Well, because unlike you and me and the people that I run around with at my UFO activities, the government and the military still believes that the general population on the planet cannot handle it. So they keep bringing out new movies. There's going to be like 3 alien movies this summer.
Yeah.
Arrival was wonderful. Jurassic World was fun, but
well, I think the younger, millennial and younger,
yes.
definitely are. I mean, they're in their own world, and,
Right.
So I think they will get it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people even my age that it's like, why not say everything?
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
that's-
but I think of people in certain countries or just certain parts of the
Oh.
world. They're just probably not ready,
it's-
even though.
Yeah, it's not being educated enough
Right.
in that arena.
Right,
Yeah.
and on the other hand, though, in certain countries where you might not think about it, I mean, there's alien visits there
Oh, I'm
all
sure-
the time.
Yeah.
Aliens have been coming here for thousands of years. So.
Yeah, well, I'm no doubt.
Yeah.
So what about this? I kind of made note on some
good.
of these things, so and then you can take it from there.
Sure.
The Philadelphia experiment.
That's really nothing alien that I know about.
Oh, okay.
But my father-in-law, let's see, they tested Tesla's equipment several times, not just the Philadelphia experiment where everybody knows about the 2 times with the ships, but after Tesla died, my father-in-law was on a submarine, a top secret submarine that went to Japan, and they were testing something of Tesla's, and it destroyed one of the Japanese subs that was in the harbor that it would have really turned the tide of the war. So thankfully, we destroyed it. And it's still sitting there in the harbor, all, twisted up and destroyed. The ship was 2 different incidents of that. And because sometimes, the ship, it can travel interdimensionally, sometimes it just moves or whatever. One of the times the ship disappeared, it arrived in the U.S. Southwest in 1978, and my husband was there to greet it.
Ooh.
Because He'd been told that it was coming. It's like, okay, but that person's
Now,
dead.
How did he?
Somebody communicated with him, telepathically or whatever, or from another time, and told him it was coming. And they were ready, and they sent it back. And there was another time where the USS Iowa, was taking Roosevelt to meet Stalin, during World War II or before, that time period. And there was somebody on like one of the support ships that was going to sabotage it, and they shot a torpedo at the Iowa, and they found out just in time, and they like phased the ship out, so the torpedo went right through it. Wow. Anyway, the cool thing is, Tesla, my father-in-law and his dad, everybody was involved with him, and my husband knows all about his stuff, and my father-in-law and his dad were entrusted with his secret notebooks before the government came in and murdered him. So they're somewhere safe.
Murdered.
Yeah, Tesla was murdered.
No surprise.
Yeah, no.
Just like Kennedy, no surprise.
Yeah, no, and there's a reason why Kennedy was murdered, obviously.
Yeah. CIA.
Yeah. And he was probably going to talk about aliens, and that's a no-no.
Oh, God. This really stood out to me.
Okay.
Raptors.
Yes, they're wonderful.
In Scotland.
Yes. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the raptors. They're typically, if you've seen the movies, they look just like that. They're built for running, so they don't usually stand upright, but at their, they have, very long tail and a very thick chest, and their head, so they're built for running. So they like to, run in a T shape.
I've only seen them eat humans.
Okay, they don't always do that, and they try not to do that anymore, unless you're attacking them. Yeah. But at their hips, they're maybe 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 feet high, but they can stand up to be 7, or they can be very tall if they stand up. Like their empire is run by an empress. And they have a very
so female.
Lots of females running the show, and they have a definite caste system. My husband, like his father's good friend, was an ambassador. He was a prince of the royal family, and he's an ambassador. He came as an ambassador to Earth. Mark became acquainted with one of that guy's sons in 1961. They became best friends and did a bunch of military missions. But the raptors, they're great. They live for food, fuel, family, and fornication. So it's all about the 4 F's for them. And it's like, if it doesn't have anything to do with that, forget it. But they're a strong family. They have strong spiritual beliefs. They're very philosophical. They're more environmentally friendly than most of us. This is their home world, or their mother world, and they treasure it.
You mean Earth?
Earth is because they started here. Oh, okay. They went out to space and created an empire out there, but there's thousands of them here now. And they work with our military still. They've been working with our military since the early 50s, and they still do, and they help protect the planet. But they're wonderful. My husband's got fabulous stories, and they have a great sense of humor, and they like ice cream and soda, but then they get a sugar rush, and but they're pretty funny. But they're very strict with their children, so it's kind of funny. My grandchildren think I'm strict. Well, if I told them stories about how the raptors treat their misbehaving children, they'd think I was pretty nice. Yeah. Wow. But one of you raptors in Scotland, they like, because the one line I specifically know about, they came from the British Isles. That was where their descendants are from, like mine, and so they like to go back there. So they will often rent castles or manor houses for their holidays and their vacations and stuff. And if it's wintertime and it's snowing, nobody's going to go to these places in the UK because it's hard to get to. And they have a human agent. They'll just tell the government, we want to rent this house. And, the big places in the UK
do they have teletransit?
No, they arrive in spaceships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, they're very corporeal and physical, but they come in spacecraft. They've got great spacecraft, very sexy, apparently. But they like to come here with their families on vacation. So one of our reports was about...
You mean from the
ones in space, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, even some of the ones on Earth like to go to the UK for their vacation. But the specific report I have called Raptors in Scotland was it was December of 1971, I believe, or 70 or 71. I think it's 71. And this particular raptor had brought his family to the Inner Hebrides. There's an island there that used to be off limits to everybody, and now it's open to the public. But they rented the castle that's there, and they had, their family and their alien friends come and have a wonderful time. And my husband was kind of between missions, so he was there for a couple weeks. But his partner at the time, she was there with their little boy, and
So were they not allowed to take any pictures?
No, but she did a lot of drawings over her time, and so he's gotten a lot of her drawings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
no pictures.
yeah. I suppose it would be
Yeah,
destroyed immediately.
Yeah, if you want to get eaten, take a picture.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not supposed to see them. And the other thing is, there's been a bunch of treaty conferences, and there are serious bans against communication between civilians and aliens. And that's been in place since 1961.
From whom?
I know of two big conferences. One happened in southern England in 1961, where hundreds of alien species came to meet with human government and military political leaders in near Exeter in the Devon, Cornwall area. I've been there at Buckfast Abbey. And then they met at other castles and facilities for committee meetings. So it was, do we let the humans go out to space? And we'd already been going to space by then, since the 50s, or maybe the 40s, but definitely the 50s. What are we going to trade them for technology? Should we sell them our space, our used spacecraft like used cars? Will we let them defend Earth? Will we let them defend the planet? And they didn't really think of us as sentient beings at that time because they're so much older than we are. Their civilization has been around forever, and we haven't. So they didn't think very much of us, and
immature.
Yeah. So, but there were hundreds of species, and my husband was there as a 8-year-old. He got to be one of the few children that was allowed to be there, and then he got to play with a bunch of alien children. And his dad helped organize it. President Kennedy and the British Prime Minister authorized it, and my father-in-law was in charge of security. So my husband got to, his mom thought he was off on probably a Boy Scout trip or something.
So the mom didn't know?
No.
Is that because of the secrecy?
The need to know.
The sworn secrecy?
The need to know,
or was she didn't believe it?
No, she believed it, and I know she probably had seen some aliens. Some of them probably came to the house, for all I know, for dinner. It's, who knows? She
Are
knew.
both his parents gone?
Yeah. She knew what her husband did, but her public story had to be he was a procurement officer. Yeah. And he was procuring interesting things.
Yeah, sounds like it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Mark's been around that since his whole life. And
I wish you had brought some of the pictures, the drawings.
Yeah. Well, I do have some that I use in my different PowerPoints, but if people
Can you send them to me?
Sure.
Or at least a couple?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I can put that in the final,
great. I'd love to. Yeah, because I use them in my PowerPoints. And they're not necessarily drawings. I've got a couple of drawings he did. And most of them are just general, none are photographs, and some are just general, things out of who knows what kind of magazines. But, I've got some pretty cool images.
Yeah, no, that'd be great to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that treaty, they set up a ban against civilian and alien communications for 50 years.
This is the British.
That was just everybody at this. So there were people from countries all over the world.
Global.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, definitely global, intergalactic.
Yeah.
And that expired in 2011 when Kate and William of England got married. And so right after they got married, there was another conference, and they, renewed that part of it at least. So we still have this ban against open communication. So.
Jeez, where's their sense of humor?
I know.
Wow.
The government takes this very seriously.
Yeah, well, I guess they don't want to have millions of people getting scared.
No.
I know. Educate.
I know. Well, and one of the things I love to do now, there's a lot of scary parts of it that I know, because what the military had to deal with, I have reports about battles and reading my husband almost dying several times, and it's like, his ship getting rammed or his ship getting hurt. It's like whatever. And when you're in space, one wrong move and you're dead. So.
Well, where did Star Wars come from?
From the military.
I mean,
Hello. Yeah. His life is a Star Wars story. I mean, they used to feed information to
so you wonder if George Lucas had dreams and had him, I tried to get him to come on the show.
Oh.
Yeah, I ran into him down in San Anselmo, and I said, I wasn't prepared. I was riding my bike. I was not prepared at all. Sweaty. I said, I'd love for you to come on my show. He says, I'm not doing interviews anymore. So, he said, good luck.
Well, it's funny because when he did American Graffiti, some of my husband's cars were in that, and my husband and a couple of his friends did cameos at the very end, where they're standing by the car out by the lake at the end of the movie. So that's my husband.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can't tell him very easily. But yeah, the military has fed Lucas and Roddenberry for Star Trek. Howard Hughes. I mean, he saw aliens. He knew about the aliens.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's probably why he went nuts.
Because
that's why he went nuts.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he had this fastidious.
Yeah.
OCD.
Yeah,
totally.
Exactly. Well, and the other fun thing is, like in the old days, like the 30s, 40s, when you had Barry Goldwater was young, and you had Tom Mix doing the cowboy movies and stuff. Well, Mark was telling me, those rich guys, wanted something to do, and we didn't have a lot of Secret Service or a lot of Men in Black type people to deal with the alien stuff. So when there was an alien problem, they would be agents on the flip side, kind of like me being a bookkeeper and a UFO person. Yeah, so he's got some. I haven't put it out there yet because he hasn't finished writing it, but he's doing a whole report on stuff that was going on in the Southwest. Yes, in the 40s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at all that open space.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, and in fact,
it hasn't been touched.
I'm sorry. Right before we went into the war, World War II. I don't think it was the Raptors. I think it was their descendants, but the bad reptoids, that I call them. A different kind of reptilian, and the
fighters?
Nazis got together, and they started a.
Too bad they didn't eat the Nazis.
Well, they got mad at the Nazis and they stopped helping them because they did help them during World War II, but then they stopped. So then, thankfully, they lost. But yeah, they started building a base in New Mexico in the 40s. And I'm actually going to go speak near there in a couple weeks, so at a conference. So.
Well, that'll be interesting.
So
because you never know who's going to show up.
No, you never do, and there's usually somebody checking on what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
I've gone to England 5 times now to speak at various conferences, and usually there's an Interpol person there. And one year I came back and Mark said, did you notice that Interpol guy that was there? I go, no, it was that geeky French guy. I go, well, I'm busy with my stuff. And,
you don't pay attention.
But, he hears about all this stuff. It's like, how do you know this?
So how is it?
Well, he just has people that are in the industry that tell him stuff still.
Okay.
He's, people think, well, he's in prison for life, so he must be really out of the loop, and I assure them that he is so not out of the loop. He still has contacts with people high up in the military, people still active in the...
And they can use the computer, right?
No, he can't.
Oh, he can't?
No, it's all letters and things.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, or maybe they come visit him, but I don't think they really do that. But there's, he'll get sealed things from the Pentagon. He used to, but he still does. He's in contact with, people that are still active military and military intelligence, and he knows people all over the world that are involved with this stuff.
I hope that some of them are pulling for him to get out of prison.
I hope so. It's just because the military is officially not involved in his case. You have to do it by California laws, and at this point you have to find loopholes in the trial, even though I found lots of loopholes in his trial. But so it's like it would take a lot of money to get back to court, and it's very picky on what you could get back to court using.
Yeah.
So even though I know he wasn't there, I'm hitting the mic. Sorry. I know he wasn't there when this person got killed, but he can't tell us where he was. So I don't really have a lot to go on to get us back into court, and I don't have millions of dollars to fund a new trial. So we keep hoping that there's a little, like I was talking before, there's a little progress in the legislature to move a little thing, things forward for lots of inmates kind of in his shoes, or like at least life withouts, make it so that maybe they weren't the one that killed the person, or just there's certain things they're finding that maybe, they can give them a way to at least maybe start having parole hearings. Because then if you've been down over 30 years with a good prison record, you're pretty likely to get a parole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell us, the viewers, what is one of the most scary things that you have experienced in this arena, or the most interesting, or exciting, interesting, scary, whatever, whichever you want to go for?
I'm fascinated by all the different kinds of aliens. So the scariest part, like I said, is for me reading his reports and reading, oh gosh, he's just been hurt and really badly hurt and he's almost dead. That's really scary, but obviously he's lived through many of those, so that's pretty cool. I love, one of the most interesting things is I've had my own UFO sightings. So it's not just,
Here?
Not in Marin, but like over by the Delta, my UFO group that I go to monthly, during the summer we'll have like a potluck or something in July, and we'll go someplace that's got a lot of open sky, and we'll take night vision goggles and watch for things, and so we see things. And I've been in Arizona, and a light was just flashing at me, and I'm thinking with my friends I'm walking with, okay, that's not a star just blinking, that's somebody saying hello, and it was. I've been in England, and the friend that was driving me would take a picture and then like zoom in on her iPhone. Look at that black round dot. I go, okay. Then we'd go to a different part of England. It's like, look at that black round dot is there again. And there was an alien drone following me around to watch out for me. So that was pretty cool. And then on that particular trip, we're standing there on this ridge looking at the beautiful sky. The stars are coming out. And, this thing, we thought it was a star, and then it's like, it goes here, and then it does a 90-degree and goes over here and stops. I go, okay, that's not a star.
No.
Did everybody see that? That's not a star.
Yeah.
And I love that. But I also love finding out about and I don't want to offend them by calling them people or having human characteristics, but I love finding out about what their families are like and what they're like just as beings, and what their society is like. I mean, I end almost every talk now with this wonderful quote, and no, I didn't bring it, I'm sorry, by a 300-year-old raptor senator at a conference about how just everybody is wonderful and we're all everything and the universe is infinite, and it just brings tears to my eyes every time. It's just so spiritual and so beautiful. It's like, okay, can you imagine this dinosaur saying this beautiful thing?
Well, they have evolved enough where human beings, there's so many that haven't evolved.
Exactly.
That are still primal.
Exactly. So I get a big kick out of them. And, and the ones here on the planet, they help fund movies to help us understand that dinosaurs and the raptors and aliens aren't all bad. So I loved the movie Arrival because it was all about communication. I love the Jurassic World movies. I didn't know any about this alien stuff when the Jurassic Park movies came out. So like the monsters. But now it's just like, oh, this is really cool. And there's a new movie coming out, Valerian, this summer that's all about all these different species living and working together. It's like, oh, that's my ideal. So just the fact that I have this opportunity to study and get to know about so many different non-human things and living beings, because it's aliens, it's fairies, it's paranormal stuff, and it's just all wonderful and magical and beautiful. So.
Well, you said that your husband was it was in lockdown, or the prison is in lockdown. What caused that?
When I saw him last weekend, he said some rat turned in a note saying the inmates were planning to attack the staff.
Oh, God.
And so, he didn't say much more about that. And then the letter, no, not the letter I got today. I get alerts we have to make appointments to visit. So there's like an email system. So I got an alert today saying, oh, the whole place is on lockdown, no visits this weekend, and it's Father's Day.
Oh,
and so I quickly messaged.
Creep.
I know. They don't usually close it all down on a holiday, but we come close to shutting them down, like Thanksgiving. Every year there's always a threat. But I quickly sent a message to my friend whose husband is just in another building there, and she said, yeah, they probably following up on that note. They started to search everybody, and they found a bunch of weapons.
Oh.
And then she goes, and then they really trashed Building 6, which is my husband's building, and found even more weapons. So I'm not saying he's got weapons in his cell, but so that's when they take it seriously, and who knows how long they'll be on lockdown.
Well, no, not if there were weapons.
Yeah. I mean, there's always weapons. I mean, they have weapons all the time. And it's usually not to attack the guards. It's usually to defend themselves.
This department, I am totally naive.
We could do a whole show on the horrible prison system.
Oh my God.
I've learned a lot in 20 years, and it's gone downhill, downhill, downhill. There's no rehabilitation there at all. So they do everything they can to make life hard for these guys.
I do know that I went through, actually through the Science of Mind, I went through an inner child journey like 5 times. And
oh, wow.
One of he's a Science of Mind minister.
Uh-huh.
He goes into prisons.
Oh, cool.
And tries to help,
nice.
Heal the little child that's inside of these prisoners.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Jones is his
Uh-huh.
name. I don't know which prisons he's doing this in, but I thought, what a wonderful thing, and I hope they don't shut it down.
Yeah.
I
know a lot of people, especially here in Marin, get the opportunity to go to San Quentin because they'll teach yoga there.
I have a friend that does she was on my show.
Oh, good.
She goes there like once a month. And
like body work and stuff?
No, it's emotional work.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I know there's mental health workers and there's body workers. I know a chiropractor that goes in there.
Yeah, no, she does kind of a esoteric.
Oh, okay.
It's esoteric, actually, but she knows what she's doing.
Oh, that's great.
And but she was allowed to do it.
That's
so.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
I know there's other groups, because my husband usually gets to go to these special events. Groups will come in and teach creative writing. They'll come in and do music classes or just do concerts and stuff like that. My husband, he always has a really good job. So he's always like a head clerk of something.
Right. He has that persona.
Yeah, and he has a million degrees anyway, and he's got an education degree among other things. But right now he teaches a debate class. He teaches a writing class. He works for one of the counselors or 2 of the counselors. I don't know. So he's like out and among the inmates all the time and dealing with their little issues and.
Right.
So he's always staying busy. He's like, people think, well, what does he do all day? I go, well, he works and he writes all day long. Yeah. But if they just trashed his cell, they've probably thrown out all his writing. So I hope not. Sometimes they do that, and he was just getting ready to send me a bunch home. So we'll fingers crossed that didn't happen.
Yeah, I guess they couldn't allow computers because it's too much access.
Not in their cells. There are some places he's been at where they can use a computer for their job. So usually when he's a clerk, he gets to at least use word processing stuff. They don't allow them to have any internet access because of things they don't want them to see.
Of course.
And he's a really good typist. He's better than me. Probably types 100 some odd words a minute. I don't know, but he's really fast. So he types a lot. He does have a typewriter in his cell. So he's always got 5 or 10 writing projects going.
Well, this must be hard on you on some degree.
On many degrees.
On many degrees.
On many degrees.
Yeah.
I live in the house where he grew up in San Anselmo. So it's over 100 years old. And, it needs a lot of TLC. Yeah. So that's hard for me. It's hard for me to keep up.
Yeah.
And when it's like, oh, the roof needs a repair, there's another several $1,000
Yeah.
And here's another several $1,000s for this. And it's like, so
Yeah.
that's been hard. And it's his house, so I want to, keep it in case he ever gets to come home. But it's interesting, and I only get to see him when he's close. I go see him every week, unless I'm traveling, which isn't that often. When he lives farther away,
so they move him.
They do, and he's
Like-
about to get moved again.
So, like, how often do they move him?
Every few years.
Oh, okay. It isn't like every few months.
No. It's usually every few years. But he was at Folsom a few years ago, and he was at it's called level 4, so maximum security. And now they promoted them to like medium security, and now they're going to promote them again, which isn't that great of a deal.
Yeah.
To like another medium security. So he could go to like where he's at. There's 2 yards of his level, and then there's 2 other yards right there at Solano that is the next level down. He could go right there, or he might go as far north as Northern California. I mean, way north.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Crescent City.
Oh, wow.
Who knows? But that
Is
would
there
be
a prison there? I didn't.
Yeah, there's one near the Oregon border.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Pelican Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. So we don't know where he's going, but it's inevitable he's going somewhere.
But in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So he isn't really in a federal prison. He's in
no, because
California.
it was a state. He was charged with murder, so it's a state offense. Yeah.
So are there any stories that you want to share about that he shared with you that?
Of what in particular?
Well, you have all the stories.
Well, let's see.
I mean, you had a whole list, and I didn't write them all down.
Okay. Well,
there's something about a crash.
Oh, okay. In Bolivia, that's a great story.
Oh, okay.
In 1978, there was a UFO crash in Tarija, Bolivia. It's right near the Bolivia-Argentina border, and it was their equivalent of Roswell, our Roswell. And what happened was there was this lovely insect creature who came from another dimension, and their world was about to die off. And they had been tricked by another alien species. I know this is going to sound really weird, everybody, but it's true. They were tricked by another alien species to think Earth was uninhabited. So why don't you come here and get a new home? Because that alien species wanted the bugs. They look like a little beetle. So they wanted we call them Edis, but it's a very long name. They had the ability to cloak themselves so they could become invisible, and they also could travel interdimensionally. Well, this species wanted that technology, so they tricked them. So you had a mothership, which probably wasn't huge because these things are very small, a mothership coming this way, and several support craft and scout craft coming this way. And the military found out about it, so there was some kind of air battle, but its mothership crashed in Bolivia.
The U.S. military.
Well, yes, definitely the U.S. military was involved, and maybe some other countries were involved too.
Okay.
When there's an international threat, it brings into play an international security agency that used to be active. So, fortunately, I do have pictures like from the newspapers and magazines down there. Somebody provided them to me, and of the crash site and things. So this was fabulous.
I'd love to see those pictures.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And so anyway, the mothership crashed, and you had the U.S. military trying to get there. You had some mercenaries trying to get there. You had some Germans trying to get there. You had Bechtel people trying to get there because Bechtel's bad news. No, Bechtel is bad news.
Interesting. Why do you say that? Because I know a guy that worked for Bechtel. He hasn't for years, but why do you say that?
Bechtel is, have you ever heard the term New World Order?
Yes.
Okay, Bechtel is New World Order, and I know Bechtel hates my husband's gut, so they might be partly behind why he's in prison. We have all these little weird, shadowy reasons why we know it wasn't just the kids doing it. Anyway, so you had all these groups trying to get to the mothership first. At the time, my husband was in charge of a faction or like a group of the military called Operation Moondust, and they went around the world retrieving like downed parts of spacecraft and debris that had maybe fallen out of the sky, or crash retrieval things. So he was in charge of that. So he was in Morocco on some other little task. He went to Bolivia. His dad was already in Bolivia. The Raptors get to Bolivia, and it's one of my favorite things. My husband, he doesn't go to the mothership. He doesn't go there right away, but he lands, and there's a little scout ship, and all the little Ediths are cloaked, but he can see them because he has that ability, and he can talk to them telepathically. So he starts talking to them, and they're going, "Oh, you can see us?" And he goes, "Yes." And he goes, "I am, sorry, this gets me. I'm Captain Mark Richards, and I don't have it memorized because it makes me cry every time, but I'm Captain Mark Richards, and basically, welcome, and how can we help you?" And, it's like, oh, it's my hero. And they had this first contact with this bug species that we didn't even know about, but they're the cutest little things. They look like on Earth what we call a water bear. So, but they have like, little suits that they wear. They have little weapons, and they helped, fight off the guys who were trying to get to the mothership. And, there were millions of little babies on this mothership, and they survived. So Mark and his guys helped these little Ediths, start a base in South America, and I know they have one in North America, but I don't know where it is, and they're underground, but there's probably billions of them here. They are the largest alien presence here because they're so little and there's so many. It's extra-dimensional something. So EDITH. So we call them Ediths.
Okay, yeah.
But they're very friendly. Yeah, they're very friendly. They used to play with Mark's kids, and he's just got nothing but good things to say about them. So it's pretty wonderful. But there's dog species, and there's cat species, and there's all kinds of fun things to learn. So
never ending.
It is never ending, and he's constantly sharing new information. It's not.
Are they trying to help him get out of prison?
Well, they would like to, but it would probably be the Raptors that would do that. But to do that, they would come in and it would be messy because they're not going to come in the stealth of night. They're going to see lunch, go in and have lunch, Oh. They're going to take out the guards and, have lunch and then beam him up. They're not going to just, they don't do the Star Trek beam they don't do that kind of thing at all. That technology dismantles your atomic structure, so Mark won't do that.
Wow.
But
wow.
Yeah, so it's just amazing. There's just so much. So much.
Oh my goodness. Well, so what other stories can you share?
Well, one of the talks I gave recently, and this is a new report, and people go, "Well, don't you have any new stuff?" And I go, "Well, not really, because he's been in prison since 1982, so everything is before that he can write about, except he has written about ISIS, but that's not fun, so we don't want to go there yet."
Oh.
Yeah, not good. But in
Are aliens involved with that?
Oh, they definitely
they
are.
Bad
aliens.
Bad.
Yeah. The ISIS is the human front for this bad alien group. So, yeah. So hence we do need to have the military there. Yeah. Yeah, it's nasty. But he's written a book about that, and that is current. So, but everything else is older stuff. But in 1971, when he was still in high school, he was privileged to be one of a few humans, military cadets, to be part of the Raptor elite military training. And Dean Martin's son was there. Apparently, Mark was friends with him. He was there too, and I don't know who else, but it was at a castle in northern England, at Bamberg Castle, real castle. But it's on the eastern coast, so I don't think a lot of people get there, and it's close to the ocean, and so good. So they have classes, and they would actually have classes, and they would do training, and they would run around and train and stuff, and then after they had their training, their they were tasked to go do like a war games thing out in space at a place where it should be pretty safe. You know, there shouldn't be anything going on, and you know, you weren't supposed to get into any trouble or like engage anything. Well, they go out to by Saturn or Jupiter, one of the places, and they'd heard about this particular alien group, so they decided, okay, we better go to a different area. But they'd also heard, and I know this is another thing that sounds really weird, there are alien groups that have cruise liners to go on vacation. So just like we have ocean cruise liners, there's space cruise liners. And if you go online, some people have done some lovely concept drawings of these, so they're pretty cool looking. But anyway, aliens go on vacation. So there was a cruise liner out there, and another bad alien group attacked their ship. So that's going on. In the meantime, Mark and his crews, the squads, they're going out and doing their little war game thing, and they were, of course, successful and victorious, and they were all full of themselves. And then they go to like a way station, kind of like, you know, in Star Wars, the bar in space, where, okay, well, something like that.
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, so there are places like that. You know, I think there was a Raptor running this particular place. Well, they heard that this cruise liner was in trouble, so the hero that they are, you know, you can't let the innocent you can't let innocent civilians, no matter what race they are, be in trouble. You got to go save the women and children. So they go get in their ships. They go racing out to wherever this cruise liner was, because they remember passing by it, and they fight they're called trogs. They're these giant insect things. Anyway, they fight the trogs. And then they go back to maybe where the base is, and you know, they have another fight or whatever. But so there's a big space battle. You know, they're fun little war games with no real enemy. It's all holographic. But then a real space battle, and it's like, you know, so many times it's like he just can't knock it into combat. But you know, he's just this true military person. But that was okay. Here's my, you know, probably not even 18 years old yet, and you know, here's what he's doing. And it was before he went to Vietnam.
He did go to Vietnam.
He went to Vietnam. He was a chopper pilot.
Oh, okay.
Has the shrapnel still to prove it. Had his chopper blown out from under him at least once. He has flown everything that, you know, he could fly anything. He's flown, he has his own alien spacecraft. So he's flown, you know, Navy, Air Force.
Where is it?
She's hiding. She's hiding. I'm not allowed to know where she is.
Yeah, because if one person knows, then it'll,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm the wife. I'm on a need to know basis. So I know a lot, but there's a lot of stuff he can't and won't tell me, and that's a lot of it's for my safety.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I
Yeah.
do go to these places, and people, you know, show up that are a little, not that they're scary or they never threaten me, but I have a sense, you know, a very sense of
sure
like,
would.
yeah, you're not supposed to be here, or you're here just to check on me, or, you know, I need to go now.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Right.
happened just when I was playing tourist on some of my England trips. Like, okay, we got to go to the next spot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
sure you've become very acute
Yeah.
sensitivity around that.
Yeah, thankfully.
Well, yeah.
Thankfully so.
To protect yourself.
Yeah, and I am very well protected. There's only one conference where I've actually had bodyguards, but you know,
have had bodyguards.
I have that one particular time. One was a really cute seal, and that was the only conference where I actually got zapped and felt sick. It's like, thanks, bodyguards, but not that they could do anything, because it wasn't, nobody came.
Zapped, what do you mean?
Like an energy, you know, somebody zapped me with some kind of energy, something. So immediately I felt sick to my stomach. I had a headache, my back
Do you
hurt.
think it was an alien or a human being?
I think it was a human.
Oh.
You know, yeah, I do. And the cool thing was too, while we were on a break, a lot of people were looking out the window. And it's like there was a ship that they saw. It's like, oh, this is cool. I was talking to people, so I didn't see it, but yeah. But I'd been giving a lot of talks that day, so it's like, but I wasn't just tired. Something zapped me. But usually I'm very well protected, and I just don't worry. And I usually have some very invisible things that protect me.
Yeah,
so
well,
yeah.
I mean, if you were in fear, you couldn't do this.
No, I'm having too much fun. Having a lot of fun. I mean, it's not all. the topics aren't all fun, and some people don't want me to talk about the scary stuff. And I said, well, lately I try to, you can't not talk about some of the battles that they get involved with, because that's just what the military does. But on the other hand, look at all this cool information I'm bringing you about all the different kinds of aliens there are, and you thought there were one or two.
Well, I'm anxious to have the drawings.
Yeah, I'll send you as many as I can.
Please.
Yeah.
No,
because there's, yeah.
I mean, this is the way that the public can get educated.
This is disclosure at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, it's like, that's the way it's going to happen.
That's right.
The government, I'm not going to say names, he isn't going to stand up and say the aliens are real.
Well, please.
And most of the presidents, I mean, they all knew, but they're not allowed to say, and they don't know, the military lets them know a certain amount, and that's about it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I don't even want to go to the presidential situation.
Yeah, no, let's not go
because
there. That'll ruin my mood.
Yes, no, I don't even like to watch the news around that because I'm ashamed and embarrassed. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm just grateful that I know that my husband has great sources, and I mean he used to have higher clearances than our presidents ever, but so I'm grateful that he still has really high sources, and they're all very credible. And there's other people around the world, so it's not just our government people telling him stuff.
And they still communicate with Mark.
However they do it, yeah. I'm not sure how. I don't need to know. I just know he's telling me the truth. So.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't do what they charged him with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Boy, you sure have to keep your sense of humor.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
With all these years.
Yeah. Going on 20.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, okay, could you get out before I'm too old and I need a walker to visit you?
Yeah. Oh, God. Mm.
Yeah, and I see, he's almost, he'll be 64 in a few weeks. There are people that are way older than him. I mean, he's old for prison, but there are people that are way older. It's like, oh, and sometimes you see them come out to visiting. It's like, oh my gosh, that guy's ancient.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, let
sad.
them out. What do you think they're going to do? Come on. He said one time, a bunch of these, he goes, what do they think we do? It's like, we're a bunch of old, he and his biker friends, like, we sit around talking about our grandchildren and about who's potty training or who's walking, or it's like, and he and I, that's what we spend half of our visiting about, talking about our different grandchildren. So, it isn't about anything weird necessarily or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm giving this talk pretty soon. Anything you want me to say? No, you got it down, But we talk about our grandchildren, mostly, all the time.
So where's your next talk?
I am going to Dulce, New Mexico, 4th of July weekend. There's a Dulce-based conference, and Dulce Base was a very controversial underground base that was for alien experimentation and horrible things.
Horrible things?
Horrible things.
Like what?
Just horrendous experimentation, breeding, genetic, mind control.
Okay.
It just really horrific. And our government allowed it to be there. And sometimes our government, officials went there and partied. And a lot of aliens came and went. And it just was thousands of people would get kidnapped and taken there, mostly women and children, some men, but not too many. And in the fall of 1979, my husband was part of a rescue mission. Probably not the only rescue mission, but it's the one most people hear about and talk about.
So I just appreciate you sharing what you have.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
And thank you.
You're so welcome.
Until the next time.
Okay, I'm happy to come back.
Never give up wherever you are. Have a positive attitude, first and foremost, with your family and friends.